What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Apex podcast presented by RockShox. I'm sitting here with Evelyn Dong of the Juliana SRAM Pro Team. I didn't butcher it, and I think that's just because I slowed it down. But that's like a tongue twister. Do you have issues with that, or am
Um,
I the only one right now?
I don't think it's too bad. I mean, at least I don't have any like powered by blah
Oh
blah
yeah,
blah
yeah.
blah.
That's a good point. But I feel like if you're just like Juliana SRAM, and then add the Pro Team, it's like eventually you're gonna butcher it. But anyways, Evelyn, how are you doing? Welcome to the show. Thanks for jumping on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Sweet. So tell us a little bit about you. Tell us your background, where you find yourself into mountain biking. I mean, I did a little bit of digging on you, and yeah, you seem like you've been at this for a while. Second place at nationals, and you like dirt bikes and all kinds of crazy things. So let's dive into a little bit about you.
Yeah, I guess I've uh been doing this for a long time now, which is yeah, kind of hilarious because I um started as a Nordic skier.
Okay.
Started that when I was a kid and raced that for a long time. Um, and then I was ready to be done with like sports and move on and do other stuff. And then,
Like sports in general, like you're just like I'm done. I'm toast with elite athletics.
yeah.
Right on.
And then I found mountain biking, and then I was like,
Right on.
eh.
Yeah.
So, yeah, still haven't become an adult, done anything else really.
Yeah,
Um,
I think as long well, that's the funny thing. It's like you're like, yeah, I want to pause on elite athletics, and then you go into gravel. And I think I love gravel because I've had these arguments with like several sponsors, and mountain biking's a little bit more I think a little bit more structured than gravel in the sense that like, there's categories, there's this, there's
mhm,
that, it's kind of like the road racing, but obviously mountain bikers are their own breed in the sense of having fun. And then I
mhm,
think like gravel and that whole privateer sector is turning into like this like, oh, I'm a free spirit, I can do whatever I want when I want. But like I'm seeing like you ladies and like guys like Keegan and all these people, the training that you guys are putting in, you're putting
mhm.
in more training for this stuff than you were when you were like quote unquote professional mountain bike. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so yeah, I mean, like you just got done with Unbound, 200
Mhm.
miles, and you're like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna go have fun. And I'm assuming that you rode your bike quite a bit right before
Yeah, I
that.
definitely did some longer rides than I've ever done before in my life.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think before this year, like a 4 to 5 hour ride was like that was a solid day.
Yeah.
Um, and then yeah, this spring was like 8 hours,
Jesus. Oh
and
man.
I never thought I'd be doing that for sure. But
So are you playing a little bit of recovery right now after Unbound? Like what was that like? I mean, because it looked like it was a muddy, sloppy mess near the end.
yeah, I mean the pictures are amazing from that race because it looks
Yeah.
like we just went through a med pit for 200 miles, but
Yeah.
it actually was only muddy for a couple sections of the
Okay.
race. And for the most part, it was, yeah, if you look at the times, they're super fast.
Yeah.
Um, Average speed was pretty high. And um, I guess, yeah, I'm feeling fairly normal right now. It's been a little hectic after Unbound. I flew back to Tucson and moved out and drove straight up to Salt Lake,
Oh
picked
wow.
up yeah, picked up my friend Ryan, and we are in Missoula right now. Um,
Jeez.
there's a UCI mountain bike race here this weekend, but mostly just came because I love the guys that run this race. I love the community here and helping out with a couple clinics this week. So
Okay. What are the
um,
clinics about?
yesterday it was a co-ed, it's just a mountain bike clinic just to help
Okay.
people get comfortable on the course. And there was a co-ed clinic last night. And honestly, it was like oh, these kids are way more skilled than I am. I'm just gonna follow them.
Right on.
And then tonight is a women's clinic that I'm super excited for. So
Sweet. No,
yeah.
that's awesome. And so do you do those very often? I mean, that seems to kind of be the wave, is like a lot of things is like people bringing in these like new clinics of, like women only clinics, whether it's like kids only clinics and things like that, to just
Mhm.
kind of give these people that are kind of underappreciated and under, I guess, like, I guess I don't know how to put this in the words, is like, less opportunities, for like a women's only time and clinic to just kind of get some cool stuff done. So like, is that something that you're really keen on? I was kind of looking back. I mean, especially like with a brand like Juliana, it comes from Santa
Mhm.
Cruz, but it's designed for women. Which I
Yeah.
think's pretty cool, because like back in the day, Trek, and I actually I don't want to mention too many companies, but essentially like these companies were testing women's clothing, and I worked in some of these places, and they would test women's clothing on men, and it literally
Hmm.
took one woman coming into the space being like, what are you guys doing? Like, you guys are literally testing out clothing and fit on you guys to then sell it. And it's crazy to me how special we can be in figuring out that, oh yeah, that's not going to work, is it? And so
Uh-huh.
seeing these clinics pop up, how often are you doing these clinics and getting into that space, especially working with a company like Juliana?
Um, not as often as I'd like to. I've done I guess a handful of like women's only clinics, and then Rome Fest last
Yeah.
year was an awesome time. Um, but yeah, definitely bringing more women into the bike industry and the space here. Just super important just to have that perspective.
For sure.
Um, and yeah, I just try and uh, like promote women in cycling whenever I can, but definitely a work in progress.
No, for sure.
So
And I think it's really kind of interesting. So like, how do you find yourself, falling into cycling? Like, who brought you into cycling, or was it just like, oh, I'm gonna go buy a bike because I'm not skiing anymore? Or, like,
mhm.
how do you end up on a bike?
um well, I guess like it's a pretty typical story. I think my boyfriend at the time was racing mountain bikes.
For sure.
And I did have a mountain bike, but I didn't really ride with any skills whatsoever. So I learned
Yeah.
a bunch from him, and he definitely got me more into the sport. And
Yeah.
then when I was, when I moved out of Bend into Park City, um, I just found a really good group of mountain bikers. That, yeah, it was just very male dominated. It was like riding with a bunch of guys that would just go beat each other up. And
Yeah. Yeah.
so, yeah. And I think that's like not the way, that's not going to be enjoyable for everybody.
No, but for some people, I mean, it kind of works out. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I actually come from an opposite direction, in the sense of like, our so I'm a track cyclist by trade, and
Okay.
our women's track cycling team is amazing. And so a lot of
Hmm.
us guys actually feed off them and like learn from them, like
Hmm.
Jen Valente, Chloe Dygert, and like
Yeah.
Emma White, like the list goes on. And
Hmm.
so like that's kind of, yeah, I mean, it kind of helps for anybody. And there's definitely the guys in the space who would be like, oh, I'm not gonna go ride with them. I'm gonna do my own thing.
Uh-huh.
And so yeah, there's two extremes to both of it. But no, I think that's cool. I think that's cool, and it's kind of exciting that you got in there, because you probably could go back and show them what's up too.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So
it's all good time.
no, sick. So, what's the rest of your schedule look like? You just got done doing Unbound
Hmm.
200, and you did the 200, correct?
Yep.
All right. So Unbound 200, how'd you finish?
I was eighth, I think,
Woofda.
for the women's. So
That's insane. And so, like, what's the tactic for you? Like, you wake up, it's 5 in the morning, and you're at the start line. Like, what are you like? How are you pacing yourself for 200 miles? And like, I feel
oh,
like it's a really hard race like be like, you know, two pace, because anything can happen at Unbound.
Mhm. I mean, I guess I just tried. I think I went out too conservatively.
Yeah,
Um, because I was definitely thinking about like the long game at the start.
for sure.
Probably should have fought for some wheels more at the start. But I honestly think it would have probably come out all the same. Like
Yeah.
it wasn't like I finished and I was like, I could have gone harder.
No, for
uh,
sure.
yeah, definitely not.
No, for sure.
So I think, yeah, in the end, it was all good. The only metric I had on my bike computer, other than the map, which was essential for
Yeah.
navigating, was speed and average speed. Um, I didn't have any other numbers really. So, and honestly, if I were to ever do that again, which questionable, um, I'd probably just have those, yeah, speed and average speed, because
Yeah.
I think that's
No, I went that route at Leadville. I'd like to hear
mm,
your reasoning for doing it as well, because maybe we kind of did it for the same reason, but I kind of want to hear, why did you do that?
um well, power, I don't have a power meter on my gravel setup right now.
Okay.
But also I don't really like looking at that too much.
Yeah.
I think it messes with like the way a race plays out. Like you have to respond to like how a race like is going to naturally play out, and
Yeah.
not like you're not in a sterile environment where you just stare at your power meter. So like a
For
race is
sure.
dynamic, and I think
Yeah.
I don't want anything to interfere with that.
Yeah.
So
No, yeah, I agree. I think it's like kind of one of those things where it's like it's going to be what it's going to be, and like
mhm,
you kind of have to, especially like I did it at Leadville because I literally had one goal, and that was to go under a certain time and go
mhm,
across the line. And so if I'm looking at my power and I'm only at the bare minimum speed and I'm over my power that day, or I'm like not used to holding that kind of power, or it's super,
mhm,
super low, I don't want to overexcite myself or
yeah,
under believe in myself, I guess the best
yeah,
way to put it, and then end up not riding the time because I'm too busy worried about my power for the day.
yeah. I
So
think it can be like limiting like that.
for sure, for
Um,
sure.
so
So
yeah.
yeah. So I guess diving into that, what's next for you? I guess this is mountain bike race this weekend, but what's
Mhm.
going on for the rest of the calendar? What's your goals for the rest of the season?
Let's see. Next up after this weekend is Crusher and the Tusher.
Okay.
So another gravel race.
Yeah, yeah.
But I love this gravel race. I mean, I've only done it once before, but um, it's pretty special for me. It's home state, Utah, um, and in a really remote, beautiful part of Utah.
Sweet.
Um, and just the guy who runs it, Burke Swindlehurst, he's just, I respect him a ton as a race promoter,
Yeah.
um, and also a friend. And he's always helped out like local Utah cyclists for, I mean, years since he's been running this race. So,
No, that's
um,
awesome. That seems to be a running theme with these gravel promoters. I mean, you got like Bobby, Nat Ross, all these different gravel promoters seem to turn out to be great, amazing people in the sport, more than just putting on an amazing event. Um, yeah, so I guess let's dive a little bit into the Apex. So you raced the Apex last year. How did that go for you? And like, what was your favorite stage? And what was the reason for you even coming all the way to Colorado Springs to hang out?
let's see. Why did I do it? uh, well, I there's just so few like cool mountain bike races left.
Yeah,
And especially like the format of the Apex, it's like very doable.
yeah,
It's like hard race every day, but it's not like, I mean, the selling point isn't like, oh, this is so epic, you're gonna be like destroyed,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
It's like you can like get up to race every day, like as hard
Yeah.
as you can. And I really like that, like 2 to 3 hour length of race is just like manageable for us. And then like it's also like not unthinkable for like your average bike racer to do.
Yeah.
So I think it's cool that it appeals to, yeah, a wide range of people and
Kind of appeals
athletes.
to the masses. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, that's kind of a cool way to put it, because I think the issue that we're even dealing with right now is a lot of people just think this is one big pro race, and so nobody's
Mm.
coming out to ride the events. And
Uh,
so it's kind of cool to hear that, your feedback is like, hey, you can come out, smash yourself for a few hours, and then rest up and get ready for the next day, and then boom, before you know it, it's done. Whereas it's not doing like a 10 to 15 hour slog on the bike
mhm.
and debating sleeping and taking a nap in the middle of the bike race. So what was your
Yeah.
favorite stage of the Apex? Do you remember any of it?
Oh, let's see. I think last year, I think it was the second day. We went a little bit out of, it was like started outside of the Springs, like Fair
Okay.
Drive outside the
Okay.
Springs. And it was a new stage for last year that we hadn't done the year before. So I can't quite remember
Jones Park, maybe?
what. No, it wasn't Jones Park. It was the one north of the Springs.
Oh,
Do you remember?
Monument?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. No, that seems to be
yeah.
everybody's favorite stage so far. You're the fourth person on the podcast to be like, and we've only done
Oh.
6 episodes, and they're like, Monument, Monument, Monument. That's good to know.
Yeah,
So,
it was just cool because it was like new place to ride. I mean, I think everyone loves Jones Park. It's just like
yeah.
easy fun.
Yeah,
No
because
one.
it's all the hard work's done in the beginning,
Yeah,
and then you just get to shred down.
yeah,
And
but
so,
yeah, Monument was like cool because you're out there and on some like pretty remote terrain. It's not
yeah,
like, you're in the Springs or anything. And all those uh, like double track descents are actually super fun because like you're just sliding around these blind corners,
yeah.
and no one knows the course at all. So you're like, I could just fly off here or I'm hanging on. It's just
Right on.
rolling the dice.
Yeah, just full
So
commit.
yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, yeah. So, Evelyn, I guess one thing I want before we leave this podcast is if you could give a tip to an athlete that's thinking about coming to the Apex, what would your advice be? Or, whether it's, hey, make sure if you're coming to the Apex, make sure you download this, or like just a secret tip that you wish somebody told you when you first came. Yeah, what would that tip be? Do you got something for him?
Ooh, secret tip. Um, I guess my one tip that,
It could even
yeah.
be like, hey, what's that favorite restaurant, or it's like, hey, you got to go check out this beer over at X, Y, and Z.
um, ooh, I don't think we went out too much. Oh, we went go-karting.
Oh
Definitely
yeah,
don't go karting after
As,
you
after
race a
you
stage
went,
race.
don't go because it wasn't that great, or don't go because you were super sore.
No, it was a very good time. But yeah, you get a bunch of bike racers who are super tired
And
and a few
overly
drinks in
competitive.
them.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. And then
danger
it's
zone,
yeah.
danger zone.
No, it's super fun. But I guess for the race, I would say um just try and load up on groceries before the race,
Yeah,
like more than you possibly think you can eat. Because you don't really, I mean, it's fine to like go out and like, yeah, definitely go out to dinner and grab some stuff, grab a beer, like,
yeah,
but it's hard to like think about grocery shopping during the race. Just
for sure.
buy a ton of food and
No,
keep
but
fueling.
that's always the worst feeling when you're at a bike race and you wake up,
Mhm.
and especially Unbound or like a Leadville, and there's nowhere to eat breakfast. And
Yep.
and you're just like trying to figure out like, oh, what do I do? What do I do? And then, the next best thing is like a Speedway breakfast burrito or
Hmm.
something, it's like, that's not going to sit well. So yeah, no, that's solid advice. No, Evelyn, I appreciate it so much. And guys, if you haven't already, please make sure you go check out Evelyn on social media. I'll put the link down in the description below. You also can just bug her with crazy messages and say, hey, I found you from the Apex podcast. Give me some advice. And other than that, wish her luck this weekend and for the rest of the season. And Evelyn, thank you so much for hopping on. I really appreciate it. And yeah, we'll see you guys next time. Cheers.
All right. Thanks for having me.